Right. People, listen, Malcolm X said, without education, you are not going anywhere in this world. I mean, it's as simple as that. And when he said education, people remember Malcolm X has no formal education. He never got no college and get no PhD. But here what the man said. Man said, without education, you're not going anywhere in this world. And when he say education, he's talking about formal or informal. They're just as good. Don't make nobody fool you. Miss P, me know y'all listen to me. You are our PhD, real PhD. We're not talking about the other people and we go to school and swat and copy and all of them things there.
The ones that have permanent head damage.
Permanent head damage, yeah. Through the issues. Yeah, people like Miss P and others, who call him on a Wednesday, call him on a Saturday, who listen to the program, who not call in. Common sense. Common sense, man, I tell you. It's not so common after all. Not so common after all. So part of being educated, Kevin, is to realize. Tell me what you think about this. Is to realize that not every fact is true. And here's where I learned that. I learned that in law school from a Professor Weissman who taught me evidence. And he said, sometimes you offer a document and you offer the document not for the truth of the matter asserted, but for the fact that things were written, or you offer evidence to say that it was said. What it means is that, hey, I'm giving you a document. This is a fact. This is a fact. I'm giving you a document. No, what the document says, I'm not saying it's true. I'm just offering it to you to say, somebody said it. Now it's up to you whether you believe it or not. So, not every fact. It is a fact that is written. Something is written. It is a fact. But is whatever is written, is it true?
Yes.
That's how we want you to think around here. That just because you see it on a piece of paper and somebody says it's a fact, doesn't mean it's true.
I learned that. I learned that from going through the court transcripts for the Rodney Reed case, Rodney Reed Stacey Stites murder case, and presenting on it from 2019 through to present. So when you look at the transcript, it tells you one thing. When you look at the evidence and when you talk to people who have been there, talk to people that know them, something completely different.
There you go. There you go. So people want you to keep that. So when people come to you and say, it is a fact, it doesn't mean it's true. It doesn't mean it's true. So we're going to test that theory around here today. And, there's another one I want to test as well, but we'll wait later on in the program and I'll mention it. GG, just so you know, I spoke with Tony Moore. I think he's watching the program now from Nigeria. So it was great catching up with him. And I want to thank you for the link. So Tony and I, we're good right now. Tony, big up yourself, Mr. Moore. Look, let's just jump into the slideshow here and see what producer Joan have for us. All right, turn a blind eye to corruption and you lose sight in the other eye. All right. Let me start out with this. I have to read this poem, Kevin, because this, I say, we're not nervous. We're not come nervous, but we come prepared, and what we also need some. When we're there, we need some boom. We need some boost in our skin. We need something to say, yes. Start out now. Start out with power. Start out with strength, and just go. Right. And I want to read this poem here. I mean, this poem here is outstanding, marvelous. Read it last week, and it's just it live inside of my head. So I just want to read it again. Shadows on the wall, noises down the hall. Life doesn't frighten me at all. Bad dogs barking loud, big ghosts in a cloud. Life doesn't frighten me at all. Dragons breathing flame on my counterpane. That doesn't frighten me at all. Tough guys fight all alone at night. Life doesn't frighten me at all. Panthers in the park, strangers in the dark. No. They don't frighten me at all. I've got a magic charm that I keep up my sleeve. I can walk the ocean floor and never have to breathe. Life doesn't frighten me at all. Not at all. Not at all. Life doesn't frighten me at all. And so, folks, that's how we're going to start off the program. I know. Not enough right now around here. We're going to just talk out the truth and let the chips fall where they may. Whoever gets hurt, so be it. Because at the end of the day, it's not about politics, politicians, or political party. It's about people. People come before all of those things. That's why we're here. Let me see what else. All right. Oh, I guess I just kept on talk about. So, folks, first topic, and it's been all over the news. It's been traditional media, social media. It's been the subject of gossip, contemplation, speculation. It's been everything, and that is Member of Parliament Daryl Vaz and the Rural School Bus Program. And people are asking a myriad of questions. Why this program? Why now? What's going on with it? How much it costs? What about the buses? We are going to dissect all of this for you today. And if you look, you see it says the full story, part one. You know why? Because there is so much that we don't think we're going to be able to finish it. I know there are some who would love for us to finish it. And I too would love to finish it today. But I have to manage your expectations so that you don't, if we don't finish it, you don't say, well, you say, we thought you were going to finish it. Why are you leaving us on a cliff? No, we have to come back next week. So I just want to manage your expectations to let you know that we might not finish it because there's so much, but I can guarantee you this. Doesn't matter where we end tonight. The amount of information you are going to receive is enough to keep you talking and discussing this issue until next time we meet to discuss it. We're also going to talk about Claudette Thompson. A lot of people, they've never heard the name in relationship to the DPP. That's a very common name, Claudette Thompson. A lot of you might even have relatives with that name. But when you say Claudette Thompson, DPP, a lot of you can't make the connection. And it's not surprising because she's been in the background a lot. And the first time that we saw her on the public stage, so to speak, was when she was named acting DPP last year when DPP Paula Llewellyn, can't pronounce her name, Paula Llewellyn, stepped aside. I think it was from April till December. Right, because she was installed as the acting DPP for 6 months. And then she received an extension. And I believe the court ruled in December of last year. And Miss Llewellyn came back in January of this year. So we're going to talk about should Claudette Thompson be the next DPP. The reason being, people are talking about her in the media. And I don't hear them talking about anybody else. And I'm just curious as to whether this could be another Dennis Chung type situation where the Services Commission is just looking at one person when we have quite a few eminently qualified people in Jamaica who can occupy that seat. And one of the things we're going to do is we're going to look at Miss Claudette Thompson's record. We're going to look at her record to see whether or not she's deserving of the position. Or, well, I'm sure they'll say she's deserving of consideration of the position. But whether or not she's deserving of occupying that seat, we're going to present some things to you. And again, these things are facts, but they're also true. Some facts are true. These are facts we're going to show you, but they're true. And when I say true, they will be coming from not just a newspaper. They will be coming from the bench. We're going to read you what the judges say in cases that she represented the queen. Because that's who she actually, it's a people, but queen she represents, right? The truth will set you free. But first, it is going to make you miserable, especially if you don't want to hear it. There's another one that says, I listen to the truth, but not from you. But it should matter to you. Wherever the truth is coming from, that source should be embraced. Should be embraced. At least, if for no other reason, for the fact that truth is being spoken to you. But
some people want to embrace the source by the truth.
Okay, that's true. That's But I want you to pay close attention to this, my people. The truth will set you free, but it is going to make you miserable at first. And today we're going to make quite a few people miserable. Quite a few people miserable. So, and the thing about it is that you can't escape this misery because we're using our OT and producers, OT and Joan. I think they have this new thing that they're going to apply to the program today so we can clip and send things out during the week. So that being the case, OT, are your version of the truth? No, OT, no, not our version of the truth. We're going to play what these people say, and then we're going to put what they say to the test objectively. So it's not like we're looking at something and we're saying, or we just don't like a person and we just make a comment about the person. No, it's nothing like that. Nothing like that. So, I have another one too. It says, and I'll mention it when we start going through some of this, when we're going through the segments. It said, let us not seek a PNP or a JLP answer to our problem that's affecting our people. Let us seek the right answer for the people. Think about that. We're not looking for a PNP solution to an issue affecting the people or a JLP, because once you start doing that, you get tribal. What we're looking for the right answer. And wherever the right answer comes from, we're going to go there. Wherever the right answer comes from. And if you fail to produce right answers, then you're going to be miserable, because we're going to talk about the truth. And in talking about the truth, we want to set you free, because you're trapped. We're going to set you free. All right. Anyone who wants to tackle corruption, I can't see the rest of this. Must be willing to go all the way. There are no shortcuts. There are no shortcuts.
I don't know how that one just went haywire. Weird.
Okay. Without strong watchdog institutions, impunity becomes the very foundation upon which systems of corruption are built. And when we say that, we're talking about strong watchdog institutions. In Jamaica, in the case of Jamaica, we're talking about the Integrity Commission, primarily. But then you also have the Auditor General's Office. You also have the Financial Investigations Division. But the primary one is the Integrity Commission. And we have to make sure that it is strong. And right now, it is being weakened by the same politicians, by some of the same politicians who established it. Why? Because it's not in their interest at this point in time. Ann Brown said, beg you that shirt. And all right, Ann, whenever you're ready, tell me you're there, I'm going to get to the shirt.
And it's a Baltimore shirt. Let's make it clear. It's a Baltimore Orioles shirt. Are you into baseball?
See, there's a government for protecting business only, including individual businesses run by the politicians, is but a carcass. You know what a carcass is? And soon falls by its own corruption and decay. And that's what we're seeing in Jamaica. That's what we're seeing in Jamaica. I don't want to use up all of them because we have some of them where we have to go back to, Kevin. Let me see. All right. So, make we move this, huh?
Mm-hmm.
But remember the first one. Go back and put it up the phone, huh? This, well, not the first one, but this one. The truth will set you free, but first it will make you miserable. So, Kevin, it's almost time to make some people miserable, but let me just go through some other things. All right.
The moment 3 o'clock hit, everybody start get miserable.
So I think we could start with the DPP thing. All right, folks. If you remember, DPP Paula Llewellyn, she prosecuted Vibes. Well, no, it was Jeremy and some other attorneys. They prosecuted. All right, let me back up. Let me just say it. The ODPP, the office, prosecuted Vibes Cartel. And during the prosecution, if you recall, one juror made attempts to bribe all of the other jurors, except one, I think, except one, because that lady who was removed from the panel, she actually went to visit her son, and her son was in prison with some of the defendants, and there were some issues there that they identified his mom, and so she begged off. But the remaining jurors were bribed or attempted to be bribed by one juror. And so the judge had a meeting in his chambers. And in his chambers, the jury forewoman, she came and she informed them, said, yes, this gentleman is going around and he's offering us money to let the defendants go. And the judge asked the DPP, Miss Paula Llewellyn, essentially said, well, what do you want to do? Because, and it was a tough call for them because in Jamaica, you can't, in a murder trial, you can't have the trial cannot proceed with only 10 jurors. You have to have 11, or they started out with 12, and remember they lost one person. They were down to 11, and if they had to remove this one juror, then they would be down to 10, and they can't render a verdict. That's just the law in Jamaica. So for a whole bunch of reasons, the DPP said, no, just remind them of their oath to render a decision based on the evidence. The defense attorneys, at least a couple of them, they objected. And they said, no, it's tainted. We can't move forward. They moved forward. The man was found guilty. He appealed, and the appeal went all the way to the Privy Council. And as you may recall, Privy Council sent it back to the Court of Appeal because they said, hey, there was a violation of rights here, of his rights to a fair trial. You can't have a tainted jury render a verdict, or a jury that's exposed to taint, because then their verdict is going to be exposed to criticism. And when the case was kept sent back, the DPP, Miss Paula Llewellyn, she was interviewed on nationwide radio about why did she go forward, knowing that there was this specter of taint. And she said, and Kevin, we played the tape.
Yep.
Hey,
With the interview.
Yeah, she said, hey, I've worked with tainted jurors before, and it's not just me, it's me and Jeremy. So she threw our assistant at King's Counsel, she threw him under the bus as well. So I filed an action against her with the General Legal Counsel, the organization that regulates the conduct of attorneys in Jamaica. I later found out that they really couldn't do her anything because she's a government attorney, and so they're kind of exempt from, I don't know why, but they're kind of exempt from the GLC because the GLC looks primarily at private or attorney or attorneys in private practice, not government attorneys. But in any event, I went ahead and I filed it, and I wasn't not the only person to file. My good brethren out of the UK, Roland, he filed as well. And we put all of the evidence there, and we put all of the canons that we believe she violated. And that there were several. By the time it got to the disciplinary committee, there was a change at the head of the GLC, the disciplinary, and it's now run by Mr. Champagne. That's what I've been told. And they looked at the evidence, and he said, "You failed to make out a case," and that's it. You failed to make out a case. So I said, all right, no problem. And then if you recall, the DPP ran into a little bit of a problem because she wanted to be extended. She filed for an extension with the Services Commission. They told her no, because under the Constitution, you already have your one extension, which brought you to age 63. And they also told her that the Prime Minister is not in favor of it. About 2-3 months later, we saw where they said, they, meaning the government, we're going to now amend the Constitution so that we can give the DPP a new lease on life. We can have her go to 65. They also, to kind of not make it look unique to just the DPP, they said, okay, we also want to extend this lease on life to the Auditor General, which is going to be it's causing a problem for them now because she's not 65. The Auditor General is about 59. And she also sits on the Integrity Commission, and her report coming out of the Auditor General's office, they're causing problems for the government. Not because she's exposing anything, because this woman the only way you see her is you see a picture of her. She doesn't come on the media and talk about any of this. But it's because people like me, people like Tavares and others, we are people like Jamp, Janet Calder, people like Daniel Archer, people like Rosalie Hamilton. All these people, we are highlighting her work. And so Mr. Tavares, if you want to, you send me something. If you want to come on the program, come on the program. If you don't want to come on it, Joan, producer Joan, you see where Jeffrey right though. I don't give him nothing. See what I don't give him nothing, right? I didn't give him anything. And you see, it says the bottle of tonic that you, Mr. Rattigan, gave me. Mr. Vumbavi, let it be known, I did not give you anything, sir. And I did not sell you anything. And I did not purchase anything for you. So I have nothing to do with whatever you're talking about. But anyway, the DPP, so she got her extension. And she said, oh, I got my extension. I want the extension because I want to finish up some things here, some administrative things and blah, 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 blah. And you ask, she's the longest serving DPP. She's been there from Wapi Killing Friend, right? And she and I don't understand why it took her so long to do all of these little admin things that she said she wanted to do. Yes, Jennifer Allen, Andre Stevens as well. Yeah. So, so now she's getting ready to leave. And there is this curious case of the Prime Minister's involvement in illicit enrichment, allegedly. There's this curious case that's sitting over at the FID, Financial Investigations Division. run now or headed now by the prime ministers or a friend, an associate of the prime ministers. We've seen pictures of them. And so we're afraid that one of the possible options that could be exercised is the head of the FID sending that case concerning the prime minister over to this DPP who has to leave by September 20th on or about. So we're watching that. People don't lose sight of that. That they could, Mr. Dennis Chung could forward this information to the DPP and she could just say, I'm not going to prosecute. And that's it. And we would never know until later on. And who we're going to blame? Dennis Chung is going to say, I did what I'm statutorily required to do, or at least one of the things I could do. You can't blame the Minister of Finance because she's going to say, I had nothing to do with it. And the Prime Minister is going to say, look, I'm so far removed from this thing that it's not funny. So keep your eyes on the DPP. But here's the thing. The DPP, I say all of that to bring you up to speed to let you know that the DPP is going to leave on or around September 20th. The question is, who will replace her? Who's going to replace her? Yeah, you can throw that down for me, Kevin. Yeah, while Kevin is pulling down some things, we have some nice videos to show you today, and we have some documents to show you today. Let me see. Oh, talk to me, Kevin. Talk to me.
I like that new one. I like that new one. So, where you see, it's so you have a lot of time that we need to dedicate to this journey and the vehicle that we'll be traveling this journey in, or vehicles, as the case may be, because we have 10 or 12,000 individual miles to cover. So, the journey today, ladies and gentlemen, fasten your seatbelts, grab your helmets, will be quite the journey. Lots of questions, lots of answers that we're looking for. Some of them we have been given, we just didn't pay attention when we were given, because the very same people that make you ask a question already give it the answer. So you're gonna have to do some math, you're gonna have to do some mental ability. We're going back to primary school, Honorable. It was math, science, mental ability, right?
Yes.
So we'll use up some mental ability, we'll use up some math. Why? Why, Rebel? Why? It don't happen when I do it. Why?
I have no idea, my brother. It's like them set up my thing over there, as soon as I click on something, it's gone.
Only when you do it. All right, so we're back, Rebel, in a moment. But this DPP here, our acting DPP situation here, is one that has been long going, ongoing, and seems quite convenient. At each stage of the game, things happen out of convenience. Convenience that the DPP has an extension on her tenure. Convenience that the DPP seems to be representing the government versus being an independent. It's just a lot of convenience. And so here comes someone who is going to be taking over the mantle, and you have to ask the question: is it more of the same?
Mm-hmm.
No, my question that goes along with this is, if this administration, if this party is no longer the ruling party, how does that affect their operation?
All right, let me answer that. You can, and listen carefully, people. The government has to make an announcement regarding who will replace who they would like to replace the current DPP.
Mm-hmm.
The problem they face is this: while they may nominate that person, they cannot appoint the person. The person who's going to be appointed, the person who will appoint that DPP is the Governor General. And you cannot appoint a DPP while you have a DPP occupying office. So that appointment will have to take place after September 20th. Now, an election is scheduled somewhere before September 20th, I believe, constitutionally, it will happen. I think it's the latest it can go, barring unforeseen events, is around, I think, around the 15th, because the election was on the 3rd, but the 5 year period goes from the time Parliament is seated. And I think Parliament was seated, I think, like almost 2 weeks after the election in 2020. So it's not 5 years from the date of the election, it's 5 years from when Parliament was seated. So you're looking at somewhere around September 17th, somewhere around there.
Oh, okay.
So you can't have two. You cannot have two DPPs. You can have an well with this lady Claudette Thompson. What we had was an acting DPP and a DPP who was going through some timeout situations. They just put her because of the court decision and everything that was going on. But you can't have two DPPs. So you will have Paula Llewellyn, and you may have a nominee. But in terms of that person being appointed, it can't happen until Paula or the DPP her exit. She has to leave office. No, you may ask, can she leave office early? Yeah, of course.
Are they both getting paid?
Well, both of them right now are getting paid, yes, because Claudette Thompson is no longer the acting, because when Paula Llewellyn came back in January, she that position was no longer existed. So it was the DPP, and then this lady, Miss Claudette Thompson, she was some executive over at the ODPP. So she was getting paid as an employee, but not getting paid as an acting DPP.
Mm.
No, Kesu, that's what I'm saying, Kesu. They can say, what the government can say is that we want Mr. X, Governor General, this is our nominee. This is the person we want to be the next DPP. But the Governor General can't appoint until the person who's occupying the office is gone. So that person has to leave, and then they say, okay, all right, fine. And they can do it the same day. The person can leave in the morning, and right after that person is gone, they say, okay, that the position is filled now by this person. But they can't do it before. That's my understanding. And if somebody has information that is different, please, I'm open to being fully corrected. So let's talk about this lady, this Claudette Thompson. Let's put her in the spotlight, Kevin. Let me see. Share screen. Oop, oop. All right.
Scholar.
This is Claudette Thompson is Jamaica's acting DPP. The story of her rise to prominence, and that's what's that? Nationwide News on 22nd of April, 2024, and there she is. And they're saying now the country has it. So the question is, who is Claudette Thompson? Kevin, you might have to help me with this thing because again, my stuff it just. So they said she has, at the time, almost 20 years as a prosecutor. She was 49, and let's go back at the date. Last year, so she's 50 now, right? She was she has previously acted as DPP in 2019, and they started telling you about the things that she did. She was clerk of the court in St. Anne before becoming assistant crown counsel at the ODP, and they said she featured prominently in several high-profile cases, including the anti-gang case that led to the conviction of the boss of the one-down faction of the Klansman gang, Andre Blackman Bryan. She featured prominently. Well, we are going today we are going to look to see how she was featured prominently. Because you can be featured prominently negatively, I guess, or featured prominently positively, if that's possible. Um, the way I'm playing with the language. But if you when you read this as featured prominently, and based on my experience, when I say featured prominently, it tells me that there's something wrong there. When I say featured, what I should have said is that she led the prosecution in several high-profile cases, resulting in convictions and all of that stuff. If I don't see that and I say featured, think with me, people. And if I say featured, when you see this, just say, if she worked on these cases, why is it that we don't see that they said that she led or she was co-prosecutor in these high-profile cases that resulted in convictions of all of the defendants? Keep that in mind because we're going to look at this featured prominently business here. See this? Here's another one. When you see this, say also pivotal. You see that language, that word pivotal? It's a word that it could mean anything. What I would like to see, because she's a prosecutor, I would like to say she also successfully prosecuted and convicted the Uchenz Wilson gangsters. That's the language I'm looking for. When I say she was also pivotal, it could mean anything. It could mean that she served a document. It could mean that she made an argument. She questioned one of the witnesses. It could mean anything. Here's another. Look below that. You see another one right there? She featured prominently in the conviction. No, don't tell me that. Tell me that she led the prosecution and resulted in conviction. And so they started telling you. Here's another one. See that? She also featured. Kevin, you can't make this bigger for me. People, you can't say this. You can't. Trish said, why don't you look at the Constitution and see where it states the qualifications for a DPP? I've looked at the Constitution. I've looked at the qualifications for a DPP. And you have to be careful when you say that they departed. When you say you will see that they departed, who departed, when did they depart, why did they depart? It's a whole range of questions. So you just have to be careful when you raise those questions. Just think ahead. I'm not saying you haven't. I'm just saying think ahead, because if the feeling is that DPP Paula Llewellyn, there was something unconstitutional about giving her the position in the beginning, then state your case, and then we'll deal with that. Okay, that's much better. All right. So you see right here where it says at the top, she featured. No. But then it goes on to say that, where she went to school, and she lectured on topics including cross-examination and re-examination 101. I don't see anything there about lecturing on submission of evidence, because that's where I think we're going to go today with this young lady. We're going to talk about submission of evidence. And you're going to find her, but I'll leave you to make up your mind. No, that that was in April of 2024. Here's another one. This one is from the Observer. Acting DPP gets, because the first one was just introducing her to people who didn't know her. And then this one is saying that attorneys gave her a thumbs up, saying she's a consummate professional, meaning she'll go on with things. There she is. And that her appointment has been welcomed by members of the private bar who said, this lady here, she knows what she's doing. Now let's see who said things about her. First one is defense attorney Alexander Shaw. Said he worked with her in a number of cases and was not bothered that she was selected. He said she's consistently displayed fairness. And he went on to describe her in glowing terms. So that's him. He also said the appointment was approved. Okay, so I stand corrected. It's 6 or 1/2 dozen the other. You appoint, but it has to be approved. So you can't appoint and just put her in the position. The Governor General must play a role through the Public Service Commission. So there we are. Let me see who else said anything about her. There's somebody else. All right. Who's Harris? Somebody named Harris. Oh, Tamika Harris, chair of the Criminal Practice and Procedure Committee of the Jamaican Bar Association, said she's well suited to serve as DPP. She's talking about Miss Thompson. And then here's another one, Andrea White of White Walters Law. Glowing things to say about her. Said, I think the administration of justice will be further served by her being the acting DPP. I do think that the administration of justice will be further served by her being the acting DPP. Keep that in mind, people. There it is right there. She said, in my dealings with her, she has come across as balanced and fair with a sound understanding of the law. And I do think that the administration of justice will be further served by her being the acting DPP. Really? We're going to look at that. What else we have here, Kevin? Is that let me see who else. Former prosecutor Tanya Burke said Ms. Thompson was humble, confident, and a deeply committed career prosecutor. Who else? And then they go on to talk about all of these cases that she worked on. That we just talked about these cases, but they went in, they provide a little bit more detail. They talk about at the same language, featured prominently, blah blah blah, prosecuted. Here's one right here where they said, look at this one here. Thompson also prosecuted murder convict Dante Brooks. That's Movado's son. But there's something here that we're going to get to. Dante Brooks was convicted in 2021, but Dante Brooks is now a free man. We also need to say that Klansman, and this one here, the Andre Blackman case, I believe half, if not more, of those defendants are walking the streets. The judge found that the evidence against them was lacking. So we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Who else said anything nice about her? Hold on, let me see. Okay, so that's that. All right. What else we have there, Kevin? Talk to me. Okay. All right. That's 2024, April 2024. Now look at this. June 2025. June 2025. June 22nd. Less than a month ago. And it says, big boots to fill as Llewellyn's departure date approaches. Lawyers weigh in on the next DPP. All right, let's see how they weigh in. Uh, with just over 2 months to go before Paula Llewellyn demits office, several members of the legal profession say her successor will have big boots to fill. All right, let's hear about those big boots. Let's see who's talking. Um, Tamika Harris. Remember Tamika Harris from last year, president of Bar Association? She said, I believe it is essential that the process of selecting the next DPP be handled with the utmost care, transparency, and regard for the constitutional independence of the role. You know why she said that? Because of Dennis Strong. That's why she said that. She say, hey, make sure we're going to do it, we're going to do it right. Utmost care and transparency. She said, I'm not going to tell you who would be a good fit, but whoever it is must be one with integrity. And they go on. So the post has been advertised. It's closed already. A whole heap of money them get 17 to 20 million plus allowances. Now look at this. A prominent attorney, Peter Champagne, who had high praises for Miss Llewellyn. And remember, is the same gentleman who denied the case that we made against Miss Llewellyn. Same man. So he said he had high praises for her. And he said, and I'm saying that based on what I've been told, that he's the one over at GLC in charge of the disciplinary committee or whatever they call it, that he's a member or chair or something of it. But it says the successful candidate must be someone who can build on Llewellyn's legacy. So you see already he's saying Llewellyn has a legacy. It doesn't say whether when you say build on Llewellyn's legacy, you're talking about something that's rich, something that's successful. You don't tell people build on negative legacy. You don't tell them that. So you see where he's going. Here it is. The successful candidate must be someone who will build on Miss Llewellyn's legacy and must interface with the public, giving updates on matters and also interviews and explaining cases. Whether you should prosecute or not prosecute. Transparency and public information, public education. So he said, we don't want anybody who's going to come in. I don't know who I'm talking about, but him say you don't want to have a candidate that is taking over where there's any kind of divide. Is he saying that there's divide or division in the office right now, or the person coming in will cause?
When is there not?
When is there not? Okay. He said the candidate must not only possess strong administrative skills, but be active in the courts. You must be out there in court, fighting for the crown and the people. But I have a question to ask him. Have we ever seen Miss Paula Llewellyn fighting in the Privy Council for the people of Jamaica and the crown? I don't believe we have. And she's been there years and years and years. So I'm not taking on Mr. Champagne today. And it's not my intent to take him on at any time at all. All I'm saying is that he's making statements and I'm just kind of parsing through the words. Here's another one. Christopher Townsend. He come out now and say Senior Deputy Director Claudette Thompson demonstrated during her tenure as acting DPP that she's a strong candidate. This is the first time we see now where somebody come out and just wholeheartedly support her by name.
Mm-hmm.
You can with Mr. Champagne's statement, you can pick it apart and you can say, well, maybe it was saying this, maybe he was insinuating that, but you can't say for sure. No, with Mr. Townsend, he came out and said, no. Claudette Thompson is who uh, whom I believe is a strong candidate. And he said while she was there, she demonstrated demonstrated her effectiveness at managing the role, and so on and so forth. And look at the last sentence. He says, "So I think that she would make an excellent DPP." And then Mr. Champagne is not one to be outdone. Look at what he says right here. It says, Champagne too concurred that Thompson executed the role well while serving as acting DPP despite her short tenure. So he couldn't help but say, I have to say something nice about her. I won't go too far, but I have to say, well, while she was there, she did well. And then him take back a little bit from it. Him said, her acting tenure may have been too short to make a comprehensive assessment, but she certainly acquitted herself well and is equal to the task and highly skilled and competent. But here's where I'm saying, but there may be also others. But as I've said before, I don't want to be so audacious as to single out any one particular individual. So I'm saying, hey, while she was there as acting, she did well. Am I going to support her as my colleague? No, because there are other people there, so I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna go beyond that. So that's where we are. No, that's that. Kevin, uh, let me tell you folks something that we're going to do. No, I looked at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I looked at 9 cases. 9 cases where this lady, Miss Claudette Thompson, was either the acting DPP, the lead prosecutor, or co-counsel, co-prosecutor, meaning that she handled the case with somebody else. I'm going to give you the cases. And we're going to go look at 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And holy pa reading, you know, people. Holy pa reading. That's why I can't sleep sometimes. I can't sleep at night time, you know, Kevin.
That's not why you can't sleep. You read because you can't sleep.
Okay. All right. But today we're going to look at, because, you know, we're just going to do a little bit on her today, and then we're going to come back because we have to keep the story going. We're going to come back and look at some more cases. But today we're going to look at the NEPA case, and that case took place when Miss Thompson was the acting DPP. So remember them talk about, you know, her administrative skills. I know when she was DPP, or she run the office great and all of that stuff. And this
That's what they said.
Yeah, they said that. And this NEPA case was a significant case. It was the pollution of the Rio Cobre River by that company. Them make juices and them lego some things in the river, and the rest is history. So that's the first case. Then there is the Vibes Cartel case, where she was the acting DPP when the case came back to the Court of Appeal. And we're going to show you what the court said. Not me said, I will just read it. But I'll show you what they said about how the case was handled. Remember now, them said that this lady walked on water for the short time that she was there. She was great, administrator and all of this stuff. So those 2 cases so far. We're also going to talk about the Javon Garwood case. And in that case, Miss Thompson was the lead prosecutor. And finally, we're going to talk about Dante Brooks. That's Movado's son. That case, he was convicted. He's now a free man. And she meaning Miss Thompson, was the lead prosecutor on that case. The 5 case we're not going to touch today. We're not going to touch the Uchense case. It's a gang. She was a co-counsel with Queen's Counsel back then, Jeremy Taylor on that case. We're not going to talk about the King Valley case, where she was the lead prosecutor. We're not going to talk about the Klansman case, where she was the co-counsel with Jeremy Taylor. We're not going to talk about the Dwayne Smart case, where she was the lead prosecutor. And we're not going to talk about the Cash Plus case. So far back we're gone, she was the lead prosecutor. We're not going to talk about. We're not going to talk about those 5 cases. Uchense, King Valley, Klansman, Dwayne Smart, Cash Plus. Not going to talk about those cases today. We have the documentation, but we're not going to talk about it today. We're going to talk about the NEPA case, the Vibes Cartel case, the Javon Garwood case, and the Dante Brooks case. Now, the Javon Garwood case, that's a tough one. You know why that's a tough one, people? In case you don't remember, that's the case where the woman was in church and she was shot dead. And the accusation was that her, I think, stepson or son, someone related to her, set this thing up, and that led to her demise. That one is a touchy case. But Kevin, we could do the NEPA case first. We could do the NEPA case. Hit me up there. All right, my brother. No, you guys must remember, because we did a story on this. We did the NEPA case. Can we make this? Okay, yeah, here we go. You remember this? The Tradewinds Citrus Limited, that's the juice company. In summary, there it is right there. I'll read it for those of you who can't see it, because I can't make it any bigger. It says an investigation was launched by NEPA on the 11th of December 2023 after a report of an oil spill in the Rio Cobre was received. It says from the agency's investigations on December 12th, 2023, it was revealed that heavy fuel oil was released from the boiler house at Jamaica Beverages Limited, operated by Tradewinds Citrus Limited Dairy Farmers. And then it gives a chronology. Let's go to the chronology. Because if you recall, this case was not prosecuted by the office of the DPP. It was prosecuted by NEPA. They too have prosecutorial authority, just like how the Integrity Commission can prosecute their own cases, right? Same thing with NEPA. Now, let's go all the way down here. Let's skip all of that and just come all the way down. There's so much to talk about here, but okay. All right, so you see right there, they're talking about court appearances and committees, and the judge indicated, and look at the last box on the at the bottom on the left. You see it says 6th court appearance, September 2024. So it's a running list sequentially of everything that happened in the case. So they're getting ready now. They were talking about mediation, and if you look on the, go to the far right, and if you look at the second bullet point, you see where it says committee recommended the matter be brought to mediation. And for those of you joining us for the first time and you don't know what that is, mediation is where the parties try to come to terms without having the court intervene in it. So it's like them just trash out the things themselves. So that's what they were trying to do. Now, let's go right there. Look at the top. You see where it says mediation agreement received. So they were close to settling this amongst themselves. Look, but they need the DPP. I don't know if it's because of regulation or courtesy, but they wanted to let her know what was going on. right? And see that at the top? Letter to the DPP. NEPA sent a letter to the DPP on October 2024. Who was in charge of the DPP's office then? Miss Claudette Thompson. And they sent this letter seeking guidance in relation to entering a no prosecution decision. And what that means is that they could come back and prosecute later on. But for now, they're saying, since them trash out them things, let's just, just no prosecution. They work out the details, they correct the problems, and we move on. So the letter was sent the 23rd of October. And this is a significant case. This is a significant case. I see we have Mr. Jeffrey Tavares here. He's sleeping. Oh, he's wide awake. Oh, I didn't see you, sir. Let me bring him on. There he is. Welcome. Say hello to the people before I proceed.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, good evening, good evening. I'm not sitting here listening to you.
Okay,
I'm the
good.
DPP. I'm listening to you, Keely, man.
Okay. So what happened is, glad to have you here, sir. Welcome. So on the 24th, the DPP sent a letter back to NEPA, an email saying, we received what you sent us on the 23rd. Right? That's the 24th of October. Then look, on November 8th, the DPP sent a letter again saying, we are acknowledging that we received your email that you sent, or the letter you sent to us on October 23rd. What could I go so? What could I? Twice you acknowledge it, but you don't do anything about it. Then NEPA went to the DPP's office on November 25th. And you see that? NEPA following up on the response. DPP's office indicated the matter was reassigned. Not that the matter was assigned, It was reassigned. Somebody had it already, and they said, and a response to be sent soon. So I don't know what happened there. But if you get word that the response is going to be coming soon, why the hell would you go sign the agreement the next day? And that's exactly what NEPA did. Look at the date. On the 26th of November, NEPA went and signed the mediation agreement. And look, the 7th court appearance, the matter was withdrawn on the 20th. The next day after them signed the agreement, they withdrew the case. They withdrew the case. Oh, look at it.
No, withdrew the case very quickly.
Yeah, you can't miss this up. Then look at this. The judge indicated that it is within NEPA purview to withdraw a matter. So them say fine. Look at the date when the matter was withdrawn. November 27th, 2024. Who was in charge? Who was in charge? Miss Claudette Thompson. The lady who was in charge of administrative stuff and all of this stuff, and she was running the office like a well-oiled machine. So on the 27th, it was withdrawn. Look at that. On the same day that it was withdrawn, the DPP is asking for additional information. Remember now, NEPA sent them and said, listen, we're working on this thing. We need a little opinion from you. The next day they said, okay, we got it. Then, was it weeks later? Let me see. There it is again. Right at the top. Letter to DPP, 23rd of October. 28th of October, DPP says, yes, we received it. Then about a week later, little over a week later, no, 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks later, they say, oh, we're acknowledging receipt. Up to now, them still don't do what NEPA ask them for doing. NEPA said, give us guidance regarding this no prosecution. Them still don't get. Then NEPA actually went to visit the DPP, went to the DPP office. And them said the matter was reassigned and you'll hear from us soon. And then Yeah, and the next day, them say, them sign the agreement, and then them withdrew the action, and then after they withdrew it, the same day the action was withdrawn. See there, 27th of November 2024, and here it is, 27th of November 2024. The DPP said, "Oh, can you give us additional information? Give us a copy of the file and the fiat." This was done under the leadership of Miss Claudette Thompson.
So that means that she's not fit to become DPP then?
I'm just throwing out the facts, my brother. And like
don't be surprised if they put her in there.
True. No, I need somebody to come and tell me that the facts are not true. Because when they tell me that the facts are not true, he sees who them have to go fight about the facts, yeah. NEPA. Not Rattigan. Go fight NEPA.
And NEPA sitting in the office of the Prime Minister.
Yeah, and NEPA did a chronology and said, here are the things, the events, the discussions, everything that took place regarding this case. Where we are with that, people. No, so that's the NEPA case. Let's go to the Vibes Cartel case. Let's go to the Vibes Cartel case.
With the world-class Director of Public Prosecution.
Yeah, this is the appeal, right? No, this is not the Vibes Cartel. This is Dante Brooks. This is no, this is not Vibes Cartel. This is Movado's son's case, right? That's not the one we should be doing first. Let me say something. Let me hold on 1 second first, because I want to do it in sequence. Well, actually, it doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter. All right, here we go. You can read that, Jeffrey. Everybody can read that.
In the Court of Appeal.
Can read that.
Yeah, man.
Okay. Now, just to be clear, this case that you're looking at, this is not the original case, the trial. This is not the trial. This is an appeal. And I see we're noted attorney, Mr. Hugh Wildman. And I know he was probably watching, see me, huh? He represented Dante Brooks. In fact, right after the decision was rendered, I got a phone call from Mr. Wildman. And he just said to me, "Hey, look, I have an opinion for you to read." And he sent it. He sent it to me. All right. So let's, and as you know, he was charged. This gentleman, Mr. Dante Brooks, was charged.
For murder. Was it murder?
Murder, yeah. But hold on. All right, all right, we not forgot too far. Here we go. All right, let's go to what the judge said in the conclusion. He said that the trial judge failed to take into consideration deficiencies with identification evidence. Now, who presented that identification evidence? It was the Crown. It was the Crown. And he said the judge, when it was presented, the judge should have said no. There's problems here. And it said it had to do with the credibility of the prosecution's sole eyewitness. The eyewitness presented by Miss Claudette Thompson, or the prosecution team, had issues. And there were issues going to that person's credibility. And the judge, the appeal panel is now saying the judge should have never let that evidence come in. See the call it right here. It says, resulting in the applicants being deprived of the safeguards developed by the law to prevent the ghastly risk of convictions on what? Unreliable evidence. It's right there. Of identification.
Yes.
And so the judge says there's a justifiable basis to quash the convictions and set aside the sentences.
Hmm.
And here it is, the crown. Look at this. Look at this, people. Look at this. The crown, the people who prosecuted Dante Brooks, the office of the DPP, said, candidly accepted that the learned judge erred. They're saying, look, we're telling you, we're agreeing with you. The judge make a mistake. Well, the judge make a mistake, but who presented the judge with with evidence for him to make a mistake? Who presented it? Was the crown. Right here. Try that, sir. Right, that's all. Oh. Kevin, this thing out. I don't know what happened, right? That's all. Mm.
Don't worry, people. We're bringing him
Oh,
back. We're bringing him right back.
oh, Kevin, you're there.
Yes, man. Never
Okay.
too far away.
All right. Wherever you're listening, watching from around the world in the Eastern Caribbean is the Rizzy Radigan program. Stand by. There he is, the fearless leader out of Waterhouse.
I'm back, man. Let me just go back and so there it is right there. So the crown admitted that the crown is saying, yeah, the judge made a mistake, but actually the crown is saying we made a mistake because we presented it to the judge, right? Um, and so there it is right there. You can't miss this. There it is. Judgment and verdict of acquittal is entered in respect of each applicant. Right there. And here, right there, the applicant's convictions are quashed and their sentences set aside. Big up yourself, Councillor Hugh Wildman. So, and who was in charge of that case? The lead prosecutor, based on what I've been, my research has shown, was Miss Claudette Thompson. She was on the prosecution team, if not the lead prosecutor. We could go to the next one. That's mediation. Okay. This one now is vibes. There it is. Want to see her name? See this name here? Claudette Thompson. That's when she was acting DPP. They actually should have put acting, but they put Director of Public Prosecutions.
Well, maybe she was direct at the time, Mr. Ratigan. You know, they know Jamaica's justice system work.
She was never Director of Public Prosecutions.
We all know that, but maybe Delroy the truck realized that she wasn't.
Right. So this is the Vibes Cartel case, my people. No, I've gone through, but let's go to the chase and go to the section that really matters. All right. Okay, hold on one second. All right, let's just stop right there. So. See that? See what the Court of Appeal say. This is when the case was sent back from the Privy Council to the Court of Appeal to decide whether or not they should retry vibes. So that was, and look at look right here. It says, in summary, these factors are the judge will get the reason why I'm gonna make decision. The adequate account by the prosecution for the availability of its witnesses and trial exhibits. They must say them not have none, they can't find none. Them not have it available. There it is. How you want to prosecute people and you not have the evidence and you not have your witnesses?
But you don't want to prosecute people.
There it is right there. The judge said it out straight. And again, who argued that case? That case at the Court of Appeal was argued by Claudette.
Yeah. But Mr. Rattigan, have we ever gotten an answer? In what capacity did Paula Llewellyn went to London in as director or as what?
No, they haven't responded. I have to follow up with that. Here's another one that the judge says. He says witnesses and trial exhibits which tended to support their defense at the trial are now unavailable or cannot be accounted for. That's vibes. But here's another one. Unjustifiable interference with the appellant's constitutional rights to a fair hearing will continue if a new trial is ordered. So you can see what the judge got there. Just say no. No. So essentially what we have here, we have, let me move this. Essentially what we have here, we have Miss Claudette Thompson going to argue, and them not have the evidence and have the witness. Them not have the evidence and the witnesses not available, and they're going there to argue to retry. They didn't go.
No sense.
They didn't go there and say, "Hey, we don't want to retry this case." They didn't go there. They go there to make the argument to have him retried. And
that
again,
makes no sense.
Who was there? It's Claudette Thompson. And I think we have one more case. Okay. Now this one is this one. This is a case where the lady was sitting in church and was shot from behind. There it is. Well, Kevin, them, we can't big this up. A man implicated in church murder of stepmother, right? The person who they said, the person that her stepson was accused of arranging it. He was not the shooter. They accuse him of arranging to have his stepmother shot. Now, let me show you something that's interesting right here. See right here? Look at the top of the screen. See that? The Crown represented by prosecutor Claudette Thompson was relying on circumstantial evidence, blah, 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 blah.
Telephone conversation, etc., etc. Oh, God.
There's a problem right here. You see where it says at the top, where it says, however, Bingham refused to give evidence against Garwood. No, Bingham, they're saying, is the shooter. And the shooter, they have to make a connection between the shooter and the stepson.
Oh.
Because the shooter was not the stepson. So they have to say, well, there's a conspiracy between the shooter and the stepson. The shooter said, me not testify. I'm not testifying. I'm not giving you any evidence against Garwood. And what they did was, and when I said they, prosecution team, they went ahead and they filed charges. I don't know. I'm just talking now in layman's terms. I'm not a Jamaican lawyer. They laid charges against Garwood, Bingham, and whoever else. Garwood non-talk, Bingham non-talk. So guess what happened now? Instead of putting a no prosecution against Garwood, and then move forward to the prosecution of Bingham, and then have Bingham at some point in time realize he might face 1,000,000 years in prison, and then make him just say, listen, in order to save myself and come out of prison and can live a normal life at some point in time, you have to go talk against Garwood. They didn't do that. They bring the charges against them at the same time. And then the charges the charges fail. So guess what? Them can't go against Garwood now.
But wasn't that a stupid move, Mr. Rattigan, from a legal point of view?
Strategically, it was a terrible move. There's no rush to file charges against Garwood. You have Bingham. Keep Bingham in the pocket. Deal with Bingham. Interview, do whatever you need to do and make him understand that, listen, you need to play ball with us. And we can reduce your sentence. We can talk to you, get a reduction in your sentence. But you need to tell us the relationship between you and Garwood. We know, but we want the evidence. And the evidence are going to come from you because you are the one who planned with him. Instead, them bring the two of them.
Makes no sense.
And then, 4 times, him shot her in her head, you know. 4 times. And look what I'm saying right here. However, to the disappointment of the prosecution, he kept his mouth shut.
That makes no sense.
What kind of foolishness is this? This is pure nonsense. This is pure nonsense.
More than pure nonsense.
And so, folks, this is the lady that we have notable attorneys coming out in the media and they're expressing support for her. No, this shouldn't happen. There should be no support for any one of these people. Let the Services Commission do what they're supposed to do. Let them advertise the job. Let them do their interviews. Let them shortlist. Let them do background. Let them make their selection. Let them make the selection. But that's not what's going on. We see what we see here, and we believe it to be the case, where people are supporting somebody for this job. They're supporting her for this job. And we're saying, no, let the process be fair, let it be equitable, be transparent. He's the only one I see in the media where they come out and talking about this. And the other things, there are lots of attorneys. There are attorneys within that office of the DPP. Eminently Jeremy Taylor, he's a King's Counsel. Miss Pike, senior prosecutor. And there are many others. You have people in private practice. How come I don't hear they talking about all of these people as potential DPPs?
Have you ever thought that maybe why some of these well-known attorney is campaigning for her? Maybe there's some secret that you and I don't know why they're campaigning for her.
If somebody should think that way, you can't blame them. You can't blame them.
Yeah.
Yard Night said the land of feeling upwards in public sector. Yard Night. Yeah. But here's the thing, people. I'm saying this to you because I want you to keep your eyes on the ball. I don't want you. This is a story that we're not watching. Who is going to replace the DPP and what will that person's role be? And we see where it appears as if she was supported for the DPP job by people inside and outside that office. And now we believe that she's being supported again for the position, not the acting, but the real position. The application, that's another thing. The application came out. Look, they knew that this DPP was leaving September 20th, thereabouts this year. And from what I can gather from my research, the thing came out for 3 weeks. 3 weeks. So even if I wanted to apply, I found out about it late.
But you know, Oh, you say we found out about it late because the both of us could apply for the job.
Yeah, look, if a job like this, you really want to get as many candidates as you can. So what I was thinking was that they would have said, okay, you know what, we're going to put this thing out for like maybe 6 weeks because we know Miss Llewellyn is leaving, and they knew Miss Llewellyn was leaving back in December when the court ruled. They knew this. Can a new government remove a sitting DPP?
No.
A new government cannot remove a sitting DPP, but there's a process to remove a sitting DPP. You can remove a DPP if the person is physically, mentally challenged, or if the person, of course, commits a crime, but you just don't do it like that. The process is this, that the Prime Minister will then have to make the recommendation to the Governor General, and then the Governor General will secure a tribunal, a panel.
But the
Panel will conduct the investigation.
but don't they have to advise the opposition leader too?
Yeah, but that's that. But
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
that yeah, not
Yeah.
not really play a role. The Prime
Right, right.
Minister is the one who would then go to the Governor General and say, "Listen, we need to remove this DPP," and he'll provide his reasons. And if the Governor General is of the mindset that yes, we need to remove this person, or at least look at removing the person, then there must be a panel that will conduct an investigation. And once the investigation is completed, then that panel will make a recommendation to the Governor General to say, yes, person needs to be removed, or no, let's keep the person. But that's how that works. It's a process. But you just can't, a new government can't just walk in there and say, I no longer want you here, and fire the person.
Mhm.
However, Larkland, however, and I learned this many times over, there are ways that you can get rid of people out of a position without going through the process. There are ways that you can do it so that their life becomes a misery and they leave. I've seen it happen. Right? There are ways that you can yes, Serene. So go back and look. I think the panel, I think hold on, let me go back and I have to go back and well, we're gonna touch the constitution today, but there's a panel. The investigation is not conducted by the OSC. It's a panel that I think it's a panel that the Governor General will say, okay, this panel will conduct the investigation and come back and tell me. But the long and short of it is that a prime minister can't just fire
The
can't
DPP.
a DPP as he or she would with a minister. You know, they can move ministers around. They can't do that.
May I ask you a question, Mr. Rattigan?
Mhm.
Say the DPP leaves office in September, all right? And there is no DPP appointed. So the election called the same day the DPP retired. And there's no DPP appointed because of the election and so forth. Which of that has nothing to do with the election anyhow. Because when Parliament dissolved, the GG is in charge.
Yeah, but that won't happen though because the DPP has to leave before the election is going to take place before the DPP.
But suppose, all right, just by word speaking, an election don't happen before that.
Mm-hmm.
What is next? And the DPP left office then. The
Mm-hmm.
office of DPP is vacant.
Right. So you know what they'll do? They'll just do what they just did the other. They'll put if they can't come up with an appointee, then they'll just have an acting.
Yeah.
Somebody has to
When-
be in charge of the office. It can't. Yeah, you can't say, well, we don't have a DPP and we're waiting for one to be selected. They'll just put an.
All
acting.
right. So if one is acting now, and say for instance that the election is called the Labour Party don't go back in, the PNP go back in, then that's the time Mark Bolin could appoint a DPP that he wants.
The word appointment suggests that the person will get the job. I know what you mean. That he
Yeah.
can say, I want this person to be my DPP, but then it's up to the Governor General.
Mm.
And some
But-
people say, well, the Governor General, he has no choice in the matter. He has to go ahead and just make that person DPP. I tend to argue otherwise. I argue that under the Constitution, he doesn't have to do it. But based on convention, they always do. Whatever is suggested to them, provided to them, they do it.
I was just going to answer the question. Can't the DPP?
No, see, Larkland make a good point. That's a good point. Couldn't the DPP retire early and let them pick a new one before the election? Larkland, I see where you're going with the question, and the answer would be yes and no. The answer would be no. You can't have two DPPs at the same. I see what you mean. Couldn't the DPP retire early and let them pick a new one before? That's something I mentioned early. That she could retire early and let them pick a new one before the election. However, the opposition could then go to the Governor General and say, listen, based on what's going on here, we don't think this is a good idea that you're going to give us a DPP on the eve of an election. Let's have the election and then we can talk about a DPP.
As you talk about the DPP, Mr. Rattigan, I may drift away a little bit from the DPP. Do you believe that the Attorney General should be an elected person, not an appointed person from the government side?
The Attorney General. That's a position that most people don't even know about, right? It's a significant position. The Attorney General is the government's attorney. Because if you recall the matter concerning the DPP that went before the court, it was the Attorney General who represented the government. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. And also the Attorney General is the one who, whenever a bill is passed in Parliament, before it becomes law, it comes to the Attorney General's office to be reviewed in light of the Constitution. Because what the purpose of that is to make sure that whatever bill that is passed is not in violation of any constitutional provision. And so if there, let's say, for example, the Attorney General, if he found that there was a provision or something in that bill that's violative of the Constitution, he could send it back and say, hey, parliamentarians, this is not going to pass because this thing is violating the Constitution. So you need to change this. But once he's finished with it and he said, yes, there's, constitutionally, it is sufficient, then he sends it on and it ends up on the desk of the Governor General where he gives his assent signature and say, yes, I signed this on behalf of King Charles. And then, and only then, does that bill become law.